Mr. Graydon and the inspector seem to be having some kind of secret discussion.
Oh, you can't have my fish and chips, they're mine.
Look, I'm hungry. I didn't eat lunch, okay?
That's your problem, not mine, sunshine.
Look, I'll let you wear the hat for a few days, okay?
I don't want the frickin' hat that is all my fish and chips.
Look, you son of a bitch. Just let me wear the... You know what? Screw you then. Screw you.
He has the second disc actually on his person?
Gregson just looks so done.
Yes!
Oh, that was good.
Be quiet, all of you.
I don't know who's talking. Oh, that was Iris?
Oh, damn, Iris, your impression of Graydon is impeccable.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5th case of the Great Ace Attorney. Mr. Gregson here is, well, both of them are sweating.
They're sweating.
What do you do? Don't touch that. Don't touch anything. There's a crime scene now where everyone has to leave.
Touch it right now. Touch it.
I touched it. Well, okay, I'm sorry. The cursor's not visible in the recording, but I touched the thing.
The most threatening thing you can do right now is progress the game.
Well, good news. That's all we can do.
Here we go. Oh, listen to that.
It's unmistakable now.
Morse code. Oh, hey, same hat.
All right. I admit it. Whatever you want, but for the love of God, shut up the blue box.
Now keep going.
Let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you, or did you not, strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon?
Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music box disc? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker storeroom, Inspector? I did.
Stop. What are you doing, man?
I'm telling the truth, now shut up. It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after the recess, and we were stood here on the stand together, that's when he approached me with the deal.
Shut up, you imbecile!
You shut up now.
Shut up!
I think this is
you
Graydon.
there.
Yeah, this is probably Graydon. Yeah, this is Graydon.
Oh. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbrokery the other day, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector. With me at this very moment. So, how about a trade? I suggest you accept. Or information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed.
I couldn't let that information become public knowledge. Not under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal and told him details about the case that should have been put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door, and the bloodstains on the overcoat.
By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Yet you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury.
I did. But it turned out that the peephole had only been made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest.
Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime. Namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windybank.
You! It's Skull Gang time! Try on!
Oh, what the bloody hell you doing? Oh my god!
You little frickin'! I will choke the very life out of you.
Someone shoot him!
Come on, this shit.
Look at this point.
Bailiff, restrain that man! At once!
Bro, at this point, you can just shoot him. Just shoot him.
No one in here has a gun.
How do none of you have a gun?
That's it then. I don't know who's talking. Is this Graydon? Or is it me? It's all over. I think it's me. Is it me? I'm the only one with the speech with the inner speech bubbles, right?
It's you. It's you. Yes, it's you.
It's all over.
Lewis, the two people with weapons here have swords, not guns.
That's true.
Then stab him.
Funny that you would think Ryunosuke would draw his sword.
Okay, I think this is me.
This is definitely Graydon.
I despised my life growing up. Those slums are vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had, was never spent on me. So I set about studying, to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole.
And you eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination. But only for that, so everything else is
But then you decided to try to sell government secrets. Why?
Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out, with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could ever imagine. Then one day, I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded.
Even in the last episode, he's still here.
You're a fiend with a square tent, so you are. Have money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with my little plan now.
I was to steal the Ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for inspections of the Ministry's communications office, it was a simple enough task.
The lure of the devil's offerings. How easy it is to succumb.
You work for Dracula.
I said what I said.
Oh, okay.
To be
But
fair,
you
those two
must-
hate each other.
Fair.
But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing.
And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure that my actions were untraceable.
By using the music box.
My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child.
Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton.
That's right. He was very skilled with his hands. He'd once been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagine his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code. So I sought out my father again to employ his services. That was an awkward conversation. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier.
Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh?
He was a different man to the one in my memory. A thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him. never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So, I made up a story.
What people did you lie to?
I've got some work for you, Father. I need some music box discs made.
Music box disc, eh?
A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I brought the score with me. There are 2, actually.
Oh, I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch my tools, would you? They're in the loft.
That's how I made him make the 2 discs.
Thereby splitting the information in 2. You were taking considerable precautions indeed.
It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with McGilded in 2 separate transactions. The first involved the first of the 2 discs, and the music box playing for them.
Oh my god, he broke it up into DLC.
Yes, I was also responsible for the DLC on Tekken Cross Street Fighter.
No! No! I just killed the tension. I'm sorry, viewers.
How dare you!
I don't understand that reference.
I'm sorry, now I'm just imagining someone pointing out in the comments, like, actually, it's Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Tekken Cross Street Fighter didn't release because that's supposed to be a separate game.
Oh my god.
Don't worry, guys. It's still in development, guys. Don't worry. It's coming. It's coming.
I exchanged them with McGilded for 10 guineas. Then, on receipt of the second disc, he would pay 1,000 guineas.
Damn, greedy man. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago? Although, then again, it's McGilded. Just take all the money from him. Just take as much money you can take from McGilded, man. Was the second part of the deal. The exchange of the second disc.
So McGilded just didn't want to pay 1,000 guineas.
Sounds like it.
Agreed. Yes. I'd sold the man information that way a number of times already. But it seems he became reluctant to part with his money.
Of course he is.
But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. For why was it on the omnibus 2 months ago? Your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded and not yourself.
When I received the 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. And when he did, he said to me,
Next time there's an exchange, you let your old man do it. Understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore. Damn.
That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from McGilded. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the discs I'd asked him to make. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name To exact revenge.
Revenge?
About that time, I suppose. As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will know... As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine, McGill had brought all his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. The trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish.
My feet had barely touched British soil back then. I walked into that hornet's nest completely unaware of the sinister background to it all.
I'd made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilded by then. So I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in this city willing to do anything you ask.
Wait, where'd the king come back? Didn't you break it?
Got a new one!
Fixed it.
Okay,
They were kind enough to give me a new one.
that's fair, you know.
McGilded himself had shown me that.
Are you saying that...
I think you have the picture now. After he twisted everything to his favor in this courtroom to ensure that he walked free, I took matters into my own hand and delivered the justice that monster deserved.
Damn, Graydon.
The tragic incident following the trial here 2 months ago
He was the bailiff.
was planned and executed by yours truly.
Well, he could have hired someone to
Yeah.
pretend to be the bailiff. It might not have been him personally there.
Yeah, this is his attorney.
McGilded's death that day was caused by this man.
I mean, he wasn't wrong.
Do I read this as
There you go.
just
It doesn't matter. Just read it.
I stand by my assessment.
I'm going with Lewis. Everything is ready, sir. If you'd like to follow me into the courtroom.
What's this, officer? It's sooner than I was led to believe.
I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule.
Well, must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself.
So that policeman who came to tell McGilded he could examine the omnibus again.
That's right. An imposter. Hired by me.
There, he
Damn.
just confirmed it.
Damn.
He also sounded a lot like me, which was weird, but he's very good.
You know, twin brother, long lost brother, whatever.
McGilded used his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manner of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGilded inside and sent him on a one-way journey to hell.
On a highway, even.
An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death.
Spine-chilling account indeed.
But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see.
A loose end.
The reason why we're here right now, Ryunosuke.
Yes,
Just let the
think
man have this.
yes, I should think it's obvious. The second disc which my father had taken to exchange with McGilded.
Yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime.
When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilded. This is the first of the 2 discs, and the music box you need to play them.
Oh, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for ye, young man.
What's this? Windybank's pawnbrokery?
Aye, 'tis the pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for ye. There's no need to give it a name. Just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend to watch for it. I put a jewel in a pawn for ye. It'll fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will.
I've never heard of a pawnbrokery being used in quite that way before.
Have you not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault.
Ellipses.
So many periods.
So I knew that if he'd taken steps to hide the disc, it would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone.
Yes, to Gina. I remember now. That when we first met you at Windybanks that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How did you know who you were looking for?
From the trial, that pickpocket's testimony was clearly peculiar. Anyone could see that. I realized immediately that she was another of McGilded's pawns, that he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced that would be her who had the ticket. So I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion the girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline.
And he was absolutely right.
And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was wait until the girl went to Windybanks to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilded's overcoat and the 1 disc that was in his pocket. The all-important music box with the second disc inside was missing.
Because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier.
But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion.
Meanwhile, as an investigation into the stolen government secrets was but a guessing. We picked up on the fact that McGilded was involved.
Inspector! Oh, you've recovered fast.
I'll die. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible. So we started gathering the fellow's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on in the yard, but we had to keep it as quiet as we could.
Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I become nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc were still there in the shop somewhere. So I knew that was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did.
So that's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers.
What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I located the music box I'd sold to McGilded on the shelves of forfeited articles.
And the second disc was inside?
Yes. I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened.
What are you doing in my shop?
A gunshot rang out in the shop, and I felt a very sharp pain in my left arm.
Broken fired his gun, and the bullet pierced your limb.
Yes, exactly. But unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Before I knew what was happening, I fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. But unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storeroom door for refuge.
A sorry tale.
It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Windy Banks on that wretched night. Maybe he should have just bribed Gina.
That
Well,
honestly
Gina was
would've-
already in the storeroom at that point, wasn't she?
No, but I mean, like,
in every...
He has
could've just-
money. He just could have given him the money.
he
That's
could have just
true.
bribed Gina for the ticket, and that's that. Just like, oh, you want money? Here you go. It's like, oh, okay, here you go.
Yeah, here's like 100 guineas or something. No, don't ask any questions, just give me everything.
That would have probably worked. Earlier, you called McGilded a monster. A man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony. For what you have done is exactly the same. You've become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilded.
Yes, I think I have.
I feel bad for him now a little bit. Well, this has been a long and exhausting trial.
It sure has, buddy.
Don't call me that. However, you may call me actually Judge Buddy if you prefer.
Judge Buddy!
I like that, Judge Buddy. All right, yeah.
Alright. However, it would seem that we have last arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon, Milverton, Egerton, whatever? He's been restrained, my lord, and he's been escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Windybank. And the stealing of government secrets.
Not McGilded too? Okay. I guess we're just like, yeah, who cares?
McGilda was a piece of shit, so who cares?
He already
Very
got
good.
charged for one murder. It's fine.
And you, Inspector. Regrettably, you'll have to face charges yourself. Yes, my lord. Of course.
It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. The fact remains whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable.
Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Yeah?
I kind of forgot you were here, to be honest. It is time for the final education. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, sir. Garrett Squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now.
Y'all finally get to go home.
The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts.
And they still vote for guilt because they're jerks.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decisions to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Hey! We did
Still
it!
gotta do his head. Still gotta push it with his head.
He is
taking
still a
those gloves-
surgeon.
Could have taken those gloves off at any time. Still gotta push it with his head.
That's the stuff. I'm off the hook.
Finally, Runo! You managed to do it! Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there.
Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world.
No, he's just the most stubborn.
Miss Lestrade, I am not finished with you yet.
Alright, the perjury.
Eh? What are you looking at me like that for?
The other thing, stupid. Sorry, before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider.
Eh?
It's okay, purges don't mean nothing, Ace Attorney.
2 months ago, in my courtroom, no less, or my brother's cousin's courtroom, there's multiple of us, we all look the same, you gave false testimony, did you not? And in relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Windybank's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGillen's property, it seems.
Eh? I never done nothing of the sort.
Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilda's coat in your cell yesterday or anything.
Aw, and just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening.
He still committed crimes, guys. Come on. Just not murder.
Yeah.
It reminds you of National Treasure, where it's like, okay, we'll see, we're helping, and then the guy's like, well, someone has to go to jail. No, I'll tell you where the guy to go to jail is.
And turning our attention to the fence. Yeah, you're in trouble too. Determining that, when played together, the music box disc contained a message in Morse code was... well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, Counsel.
Oh, we're in trouble for that, aren't we?
Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast. Demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom.
Very sorry about that.
No, don't be, that was the best.
It was the only way that I could get Inspector Gregson to admit to what he'd done, so... I think that's juror number 5.
If I may say something on that point.
Isn't that...
It's, about the sounds produced by the music box before. I do wonder if that was really Morse code at all.
What are you saying, madam?
Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes, to be exact. Goodness, madam, an unhealthy level of obsession one feels.
Everyone stares at juror 3.
Juror number 3.
What are you looking at me for?
we're crossing our eyes. We're looking at you stereoscopically.
Oh.
Anyways, that's why we don't like you.
Damn.
But I must say that, in my opinion, the sounds produced on those 2 discs were nothing more than that. A meaningless series of 2 different tones.
A meaningless
What?
serious of 2 different tones? What was that line?
I don't know either. Can that really be? I feel like that was a misspelling, but it wasn't Morse code after all?
Huh.
My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again. No!
You're nuts! How many times I tell you? Those discs contain mysterious secrets, my sunshine!
Well, those dots and dashes mean something.
This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government communications.
Yeah, this isn't Reddit.
We know McGilded conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies. Secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further.
At least not here. But it's really gonna bother me.
Well, that's too bad, isn't it?
Miss Lestrade,
Yeah? Me lord?
that which you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing.
Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalog of depravity.
Juror
And
number 3.
Holy... Yes, juror number 3? What?
No, I was just adding to like list of horrifying experiences that happened in this courtroom.
Well, I'd also add juror number 4 to that, because I feel that he needs to go to the operating room, and he left it mid-operation, which is quite concerning. An appalling...
My patient was fine. He came into the courtroom.
He fainted.
He's fine. He made it all the way over here. He's fine.
What the hell, man? An appalling experience to be for any child.
Come on. Ain't nothing I don't see most days in the back slums.
I beg your pardon?
If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes.
Gina.
Don't dig yourself a hole now.
Look, I reckon I worked something out today. The world ain't fair. But if you want it to change, you gotta start at home. You gotta change how you are yourself.
Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Let the flames of the innocent become the flames of your phoenix wings. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pup Windybank, proprietor of the pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade,
Not
not
guilty. Confetti! And fireworks!
I got fireworks for you. Yeah.
My lord, what was that whole thing with the Phoenix? What was up with that?
I was just trying to appease to our eastern friend here.
That was a little weird. That was very weird, my lord.
Mr. Naruhodo loves to have his...
Oh, that was a very terrible pronunciation. All right.
Do you speak Japanese, Zoe Van Zeeks?
I have been very correctly saying Mr. Naruhodo's name this entire time.
Oh, it's Mr. Naruhodo? Why is it spelled like that? Well then, that is all. Court is adjourned.
Is it though? We
No.
still have an entire second game to go through eventually. Oh, okay.
I also there's something that bothered me about how Runa was like, "Hey, I want to see the full disc and everything again," and the fact of the matter of how we came to defend Mr. McGilded in the first place.
Well, how do we do that?
We defended him because a certain someone told us to.
Yeah, and
Oh.
I'm now wondering if that guy's connected in this too.
oh, okay.
He only got off because Strongheart. Oh God. Okay.
Well, anyway,
On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my Far Eastern friend.
oh,
Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense of the malice that festered within that Englishman. And at the same time, saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. We have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures.
I don't think there's anything curious about it.
Take the compliment.
Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan. We're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside.
You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again here in the courtroom.
You did?
When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me. Toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew, and try to understand.
You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly?
Well, you may ask. And one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not.
All right, then I'll wait for that day, if I must.
Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, in my retirement from the service 5 years ago, it gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow. Until we meet again.
Indeed. Unfortunately, we cannot continue this because we are really far in now. So we're gonna actually have to go through a third video to get to the end of this case. So we're
Oh my god.
Yeah, we're gonna have to stop here. We still haven't left the courtroom, Lewis, and you know how post-credits go. We have not left the courtroom. The last
my
40 minutes. So
Ace Attorney, I'm begging you.
we're gonna need to go through.
You're here forever.
So yeah, we're gonna have to go through another video before we actually complete this. So we'll see you all then.